I count on one thing. The same God who never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will. And I count on one thing. The same God who never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names, that nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names, that nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, come on, to glorify the name of all names, that nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names, that nothing can stand against. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will. Amen. I want to encourage us and ask that as we continue sing the next few songs, that we kind of let everything else fade away and we would actively engage in worship. And for some of us, it might be clapping, it might be raising our hands, but that we would actively engage with a God who gave everything for us. So this is our participation part of our service where we're actively engaging with God. This next song we've done a couple of times, and it's really a response song where we're actively responding to God and declaring what He does and who He is. And you'll see those italicized words on the screen, and that's your part to really sing out, declaring who He is. So join us as we continue in worship. Do you feel the world is broken? We do. Do you feel the shadows deepen? We do. But do you know that all the dark won't stop the light from getting through? We do. Do you wish that you could see it all made new? We do. And is all creation groaning? It is a new creation coming. It is. And is the glory of the Lord to be the light within our midst? It is. Is it good that we remind ourselves of this? It is. Sing it out with me. Is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave, he is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave. And is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is he worthy of this? He is. But does the Father truly love us? He does. And does the Spirit move among us? He does. And does Jesus, our Messiah, hold forever those he loves? He does. And does our God intend to dwell again with us? He does. Sing it out. Is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave, he is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave. From every people and tribe, every nation and tongue, he has made us a kingdom and priest to God, to reign with the Son. And is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is he worthy? Is he worthy? Is he worthy of this? Sing it out, church. He is. God. As I was thinking about that this week, I have the privilege of being able to think about these songs and sing them long before you get to hear them. But I was thinking about the fact that him being worthy, that giving somebody praise and blessing and honor that he alone is worthy of requires that I have to believe in him. I have to place my trust in him. And as I was thinking about that, I was just thinking about that scripture that talks about the man who builds his house. And the man who builds his house on the sand, it's kind of shaky foundation. But the man who builds his house on the rock, that's a firm foundation. And as we're concluding this series this week on Trueish, there's lots of versions of truth out there that are shaky, that are sand. But there's a version of truth that is the person of Jesus Christ, that is a firm foundation. And we want to sing to him this morning.
Lift us up. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, we live for you.
Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Thank you, God. And worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. And we live for you. We live for you. Sing it out, holy. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Yeah.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, and worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, Jesus.
Jesus, the name above every other name. Yeah. And Jesus, the only one who could ever save. And worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. And we live for you. Oh, we live for you.
We live for you, Lord.
And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Yeah. God, that's a cry of our heart this morning. That you would lead us, that we would follow. God, that you are trustworthy and we can place our trust in you. So, Father, we want to declare that this morning, that we can build our life on you. Sing this out with me, church. I will build. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will God, that's the cry of our heart this morning. God, we give our praise.
Through every battle,
Sing it out, church.
through every heartbreak, through every circumstance, I believe you are my fortress. Oh, you are my portion. You are my hiding place. Oh, and I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe through every blessing, through every promise, through every breath I take, yeah. I believe you are provider, oh, you are protector, you are the one I love, Lord, yeah. And I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are. You are. We believe you are, Lord. Sing out a new horizon. And it's a new horizon. And I sit on you. And you meet me here today with mercies that are new. All my fears and doubts, well, they can all come true because they can't stay long when I'm here with you. And it's a new horizon, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today with mercies that are new. Yeah, all my fears and doubts, well, they can all come true because they can't stay long when I believe you are the way, oh yeah, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are. And it's a new horizon, and I set on you. And you meet me here today with mercies that are new. All my fears and doubts, they can all come true because they can't stay long when I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, Jesus, the light. I believe.
Hey, good to be here. You should get extra points. It's a beautiful day outside and you're in here. Man, you should get extra points for that. You know, this is Upgrade Sunday, and every time, our kids get into a new age, doesn't it just make you feel old? Like, I just feel old. Like, every time my son just kind of graduates and stuff, but it's a fun time. Hey, I want to piggyback off what you said about the Go Give Serve Love event. Obviously, shameless promotion today. And so one of the things I want to mention is that we love what we do here on Sundays. We put a lot of time and effort and resources into the messages, also into the worship, the music, the songs that we sing. But we think this isn't enough. We think that Jesus has called us to a radically new ethic of love that means if we don't take how we feel and what we have learned in here and take it out there and give hope to the world, we think everything we've done here is useless. We do mean that. And so we think that our Go Give Serve Loves event are hugely important. In fact, 2 of our values as a church are actually in this statement. We think that we should leave the building, and that's the go part. And many of you can do that. Some of you can do that. Hopefully God has put that on your heart, and you've said, God has helped me in such a great way. God has, incredibly invested into my life. I want to do the same for other people. So many of you can go. Some of you can't go, or maybe you're not able to go, or maybe you're just not there yet, but you say, you know what, I can give to that. I've got backpacks to give. I've got finances to give. I would love to give to that. And then many of you can serve. Many of you can say, look, I would love to serve and to give back with my time and my effort because God has already served me. And so we also think that when we serve, that we grow. That part of it being a maturing Christian is to finally go, it's no longer about me anymore. It's about other people. And then lastly, we can all love. That's the new ethic that Jesus has called us to do, to love one another as he has loved us. Not because we have been, because we want people to treat us like we want to be treated. We want to treat people as God has treated us, which is better than we deserve. And so we encourage you guys to do that. Go to the Connection Center afterwards, and please do that. But today we're going to talk about the Trueish. This is our 7th, our kind of capstone to this whole series. And to be honest, this series has been a tough one. You know how I know that? I've gotten a lot of email. No, actually, that's not the reason this is this. No, actually, that's about truth. It's really hard because the truth confronts us. The truth confronts us because it picks sides. It basically says there's a real, a true, an honest way to do something. There's a false, a dishonest, and a wrong way to do something. And that makes us uncomfortable. We kind of live in a culture where we really don't like confrontation a lot. And so truth kind of brings that out. I think it's incredibly freeing. I think it's helpful. But what I love about our church is that throughout this series, we've said a whole bunch of things. We have said, look, if you want to justify anything from the Bible, you can do that. In this series, we said that context is everything. That as a Christian, if you want to justify any sort of behavior, any sort of ideology, any sort of worldview, any sort of comment, your treatment of other people, you can find a verse in the Bible to justify your actions, whether good or bad. And so in this series, we've been talking about the truth of knowing how to read the Bible effectively. We've talked about the myth of that, like if you're just a great parent, your kids are going to turn out great. We know that that is not true. We've experienced neighbor kids that is not true, right? We all have seen that. We've talked also in this series just about the importance of truth in itself, is that it's kind of been under attack for a long time. We're going to talk about that today. It's actually surprising where all these attacks come from. We have talked about a ton of stuff in this series. In fact, last week, and we talked about the root of all evil, which most people think is money, but it's not. Money is not the root of all evil. You can go back and listen to all these messages. We highly encourage you to do that. Last week, we did something kind of different. Is actually we went on the offensive, which we don't do much up here, honestly. Most of the time when I'm up here, when other people on the teaching team are up here, we want to convince you that not only is Christianity is true, but that will make your life better. That God, when he comes into your life, wants to be a part of it desperately. He's done so much for us. And we just think that being a Christian just makes you better at life, and it makes your life better. We really do think that. And so most of the time, we're telling you and hopefully trying to convince you there's a reason that you should believe. But last week, we did something different. Last week, we actually went on the offensive. Last week, we said truth is too important not to ignore that there are certain theologies, ideologies out there that are poisonous. And we said this. We said, look, if you're not a Christian, this ideology called the prosperity gospel has the potential to kill your relationship with God, any relationship that you have. And if you're already a Christian, has the propensity to poison your relationship with God. And you can go back and listen to that. I got a lot of comments about that. But what I love about our church is that all these comments, all the emails, all the meetings that I've had people come up, talk about, hey, I disagreed with this, or hey, I want to know more about this. What I love is all people in the lobby. And what I love about this is it doesn't matter your nationality, it doesn't matter what city you're from, is that as a church here at Life Point, we can disagree and be civil. It's awesome. I love that about our church, that we can say, hey, I heard what you said, I don't agree, and you still want to be here, you still want to hang out. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for being a people and a culture that says we'll deal with hard topics and we'll love each other afterwards. Thank you so much. So in this last one, we are on part 7 of our series, and it doesn't matter where you come from. I think we can all unite on this one thing, is that we all love a good meme. I love a good meme. In fact, we have one for you up on the board. I don't know why this makes me laugh all the time. Maybe it's just because I like Steve Carell. He says, I changed all my passwords to incorrect. So when you forget your password, it says your password is incorrect. I mean, this is just great life lesson right here, right? This is just great. I mean, when you search for a meme on the internet, and be careful, there's some ones that aren't super appropriate, but when you search for them, what do? You share them. Some of you share them a little too much. You know, you text message people. I mean, I do that sort of stuff as well. But here's what happens is when you share a meme over and over again, and when lots of people share it, hundreds, maybe thousands, it turns into what's called a trend on social media. And a trend on social media is just something that's powerful. It's something that people are talking about, or it's just something that's really, really popular. And trends are a big deal because social media has put into the hands of every individual, like no other time in history, a way for us to hear from people all throughout the globe immediately, for us to give our opinions very, very quickly, even sometimes without thinking about it. And so we can give them out there. We can find out what other people are saying. But social media trends are super important. This isn't just like, hey, I'm glad to hear what so-and-so is saying in China. They're a big deal. In fact, social media in 2011 was helpful in overthrowing part of Egyptians' government, is that there were some things that people were placing online, pictures and thoughts and quotes from people, is it actually helped the world give a viewpoint of what was happening in one part of the world. And so social media is an incredibly powerful tool, but it also helps shape public opinions. And you probably know this, is that as you're looking online, you may want to know, hey, what is so-and-so saying about this topic? Or what has this news network said about this? Or what has this part of the country said about this? What has this part of the world said about this particular thing? And we've been saying this has been our series thesis, our series focus throughout the entirety of our message series this time, is it's been, hey, if you only have half the truth, then you don't have the whole picture. And sometimes this is the case in social media as well, is that we'll share something on Facebook and maybe not do enough research. Or maybe we see something and we only get part of the story and we'll make a decision based on just our feelings or based on what was presented there. We kind of determine sometimes even people's innocence or guilt just based on one story rather than going and checking out what else was there. But social media is a powerful tool and it can be good. It's not an evil tool in itself. It can be good. But I want to talk a little bit today about a person who has an incredible amount of influence. And so we're going to learn from a pop star today. And so this person's name is Katy Perry. And so she's going to teach us a lot today. She brings up this subject here in just a second, which we'll get to. Here's what she said. She says, speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Live your truth, even if your body breaks, spirit survives. We're going to get to this in just a second. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that you're probably familiar with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, Katy Perry has the most Twitter followers of anybody. She has 108 million followers on Twitter and almost 82 million followers on Instagram. And the reason I bring this up is that if you were to add up all that unique visitors, she has more influence than the entire states of California, Texas, Florida, and New York combined. So 4 of the largest populous states in the nation essentially follow Katy Perry. And so when she speaks, people listen. And I don't know what your viewpoint of her is, and what I really want to bring about, but despite her songs, despite what your viewpoint is, I'm so glad that she says stuff like this because we get to talk about it. We get to talk about it. I'm so appreciative that people of her influence say things and have like a discussion, especially in social media, because it brings to the surface these incredibly, incredibly important topics. And so what she's hitting at is this concept called my truth. And you've probably heard that. In fact, that's the name of the message today, is My Truth. And here's how we're going to define that. My truth is a personalized truth designed to meet someone's preferences. You've probably heard this phrase. Maybe you've used this phrase before. Is that people have said, look, this is true for me, accept it or reject it, but this is for me. This is not for you. And in our culture today, this idea of my truth is really, really prevalent. It is a personalized truth designed to meet someone's needs, maybe your needs. It's a way for us to go, look, this is something that I deem to be true. You don't have to accept it. You can reject it, but I'm saying this is true. And the reason this is so important is that truth, as a society, the idea of an objective truth has eroded to become a personalized truth created by anyone. So instead of a truth given to everyone, it's a personalized truth created by anyone. And as we're going to see, this is a little bit dangerous. This is a little bit interesting. But let me give you an example of why this actually doesn't work. I am the only one married to Rachel that I know of, right? Okay, that I know of. That I know of. I'm the only one that's married to her that I know of. This is true about me, but this is also true for everyone else. We could say it this way. Think about it. Something cannot be true for you and not true for everything else, for everyone else. Something cannot be true for you and not true for everyone else. Just because she is married to me doesn't mean it's not true for everyone else. And I know most people are like, how did that happen? I just tell people that's why I believe in God. I totally get that, okay? So something cannot be true. The reason that this is so important, it's something based on a philosophical a term called the law of non-contradiction. It means something can't be true and not true at the same time. You cannot have a married bachelor. That doesn't make sense. So truth is actually, there is a right and a wrong answer. It's not subjective. It is objective. And this is a very, very important thing because so many people today now ask this question: what is truth? I mean, truth has been attacked for a long time, and maybe you don't think about it this way. Maybe you're just kind of like, yeah, I do the whole my truth thing, or at least I don't understand the importance of it. Well, we're going to answer this question with 3 answers today, the importance of truth. Because why is it such a big issue? Why does the truth matter? Why does the truth bother us? Why is it not okay to say that this is true for me, but it's not true for you? Well, we live in a culture that we don't like to be offended. We hate confrontation for the most part. And truth brings out confrontation because it says someone is right or something is right and something is wrong. And most people see truth as excluding people. Exclusive truth excludes people. Most people think that if truth is just given to them, it doesn't give them the freedom to live their life in a way that is meaningful. Or sometimes we just don't want to face up to the truth. One of the things that my truth helps with is that we don't have to explain to anybody the choices we've made in our life. If we say this is the truth that I have created for my life, we can justify just about anything. So here are some things that truth is not. I gave you a list in your program. I'm going to go through these real quick. But truth is not based on these things. Truth is not based on instinct. It's not just like this sixth sense. Hey, this seems true to me. When I see that, when I hear that, when I do that thing, it just seems true to me. So that's what makes it true. Truth is not based on instinct. Truth is not based on feelings. Truth is not like, hey, I feel that this is right. I feel this is right, which is number 3. But feelings are not a good barometer for truth. In fact, I think God has given us feelings to respond to truth in a meaningful way, not to reveal it. So it's not feelings. The third one, wish fulfillment. I wish it to be true. I want it to be true. Just because we want Jesus to be God does not make him God. Just because we want Christianity to be true does not make it true. It is not wish fulfillment. Custom. I was told in this way. Okay, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to ask, are there millennials in the room? I'm going to ask you to raise your hand just real quick. Yeah, you shot up quick. Proud of it. I like that. Hey, go ahead and put your hand. You guys get a bad rap, okay? You guys get a bad rap. So many times in society, we blame millennials. We say all sorts of things about them. I don't know why we do this, because every generation kind of does that to the generation after them. But here's the thing. We owe you guys a debt of gratitude for this point. I was told this way. For you, it is not enough to say, you know what, my parents believed in God, so I'm going to believe in God. That is not okay with your generation. And I love that about you, is that you go, you know what, just because my parents told me this is true, doesn't mean I'm going to believe it. We owe you a debt of gratitude because it forces us as Christians to go, do we believe it because we think it's true or because someone told us? And so we owe you a debt of gratitude because we now have to have better answers to the question, why do you believe what you believe? Because it is no longer okay to say, because my parents told me, because my pastor told me. It is no longer okay for that. We owe you a gratitude, so thank you for that. And the fifth one is popularity. Everyone believes it is so. Can a bunch of people be wrong? Yes. Check out any high school trash and fashion trend. A bunch of people can be wrong. I mean, you laugh, but if you look back at your own high school fashion trends, those are pretty bad too. Like a whole bunch of people can be wrong. Just because a bunch of people believe something doesn't make it true. And the last thing, pragmatism. It just works. If it works, it must be true. The opposite is true. If it's true, it does work, but not the reverse. So if it's not all of these things, what is it? I mean, the problem is simply this, is that we have to accept truth in our life because we can't function. So we have to know what it's like. I mean, we can't just say, look, I just reject gravity. How many of us can do that? Like, we would have a very odd time in our life. I mean, most of us, as we get older, we would love to reject gravity. I mean, we would love to do that, but hey, we can't do that. So here's the reason I think truth is so important. For those of you who wear glasses, for those of you who have contacts, if you were to lose your contact, if you were to take your glasses off, you can't see real well. And you probably do what most people do in that situation, is you stay put. You're worried about bumping into something, and so you don't move real far because everything's foggy, everything is unclear, and so you kind of stay put until you can kind of get your glasses or your contacts back on so you can see clearly to move. If you're brave, you may move around a little bit and bump into something. That's kind of a scary thing. The reason I think truth is so important is because it's a lot like putting back on your glasses, maybe for the first time, is that when Jesus tells us the truth about who God is, we get a clear picture of who God is, and we want to walk towards him. It makes us, instead of staying in one place because we can't see clearly, we go, man, God is way more loving, way more gracious, way more incredible than I ever thought. I want to move in his direction. And so I actually think one of the reasons that Jesus came is to give us a clear picture of who God is. And when we know who he is, we want to say, I want to move towards him. At least that's our hope for you. So that question, what is truth? That question was actually a question that was asked to determine a legal verdict between a very famous and infamous person and a person who is the foremost world expert of all time in truth. And actually, a guy named John captures this conversation. And let's tune in real quick. He says, "You are a king then." Pilate is interviewing Jesus. Jesus is sitting across the table from him. Jesus has been brought to him. And Pilate basically says, look, people are looking to kill you, Jesus. You need to give us, I know it's tragic. People are trying to kill you, Jesus. You need to give us something here. I want to let you go if you just give me an example. And he says, look, are you a king? And Jesus says this, you have said that I am a king. And in case you wonder why Jesus ever come, he spells it out for us. He says, in fact, I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born, the reason that I came into this world is to testify to the what? To the truth. Think about it this way. One of Jesus' last conversations was talking about truth. That's a big deal. He says, I have come to testify to the truth. Everyone who is on the side of truth listens to me. And then Pilate asked this famous, now infamous question, what is truth? This is an important question. But Pilate isn't asking because he's actually curious. He's asking because he thinks that there's no such thing. There's no such thing as truth. But we're going to answer this question today with three answers. So if truth is not perception, if it's not popularity, if it's not how I feel, what is it? We're going to give three answers today. And then I wish we could spend a week on all of these, but we're going to go through these kind of quickly. The first answer is this. The truth is what corresponds to reality. The truth is what corresponds to reality. Jesus is saying and implying, look, there are a lot of half-truths out there, a lot of poisonous truth. There's the absence of truth out there. I'm here to set all of that straight. I'm here to point you in the direction of God. I'm here to tell you that I know everything about your life. This is one of the things that makes God incredible. God says, I see the reality of your life perfectly. I know what you have done in the past. I know what you're currently doing. I know what you'll do in the future. I know exactly everything about you and your life, and I choose you anyways. That's the great thing about God. But truth corresponds to what is real because Jesus is like, I don't want you to live a false life. I don't want you to believe in me because you just believe it's true, that you feel it's true. I want you to know that truth is so important to me. I came to the earth to tell people about it. This is a big deal. Now, our culture does not agree with this, and I can prove it. In 2016, there was an organization called Oxford Dictionaries, and every year they choose a word. And in 2016, they chose a word called post-truth, which is hyphenated, so it feels like it's cheating, but they're dictionaries. They're probably smarter than I am, so we'll just let it pass. But they chose this word. And the reason they chose it is this. Here, tune into this, what they said on their website. The compound word post-truth exemplifies an expansion in the meaning of the prefix post. that has become increasingly prominent in recent years. Rather than simply referring to the time after a specified event or situation, as in post-war or post-match, the prefix in post-truth has a meaning more like belonging to a time in which the specified concept has become unimportant or irrelevant. Now, half of you fell asleep as I read that. I mean, there are a lot of big words there. I mean, what are they trying to say, right? So they kind of come up afterwards and give it in a more succinct way. Here's what they said, and get this. Post-truth is relating to or denoting a circumstance in which, get this, objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than what? Appeals to emotion or personal belief. This is 3 years ago. This is not a church saying this. This is not a religion saying this. This is a worldwide organization that is bringing to light, look, this is the world that we live in. Objective, scientific, historical, provable facts take a back seat to appeals to emotion and personal belief. Let that sink in. It doesn't matter if someone can prove something to you. If they don't feel good about it, to them, it is not true. Isn't that crazy? That's the culture that we live in today. I mean, I can't believe that objective facts are less influential than someone's opinion. But that's why personal beliefs are such a big deal. I mean, we have to base our beliefs on truth. We don't just get to pick and say, hey, I don't feel about that way. I mean, imagine if you did this. Imagine if you went into your bank, or if I went into my bank, and I said, hey, I'd like to take out $10,000. And they said, sir, you don't have that much money. You say, that's not how I feel about my bank account. I don't feel that way. That may be true for you. That is not true for me. I mean, we laugh because it's ridiculous. But the thing is, you don't get to just decide what's true in our bank accounts, through math, or through history. So why can't we do the same thing with morality and ethics? You just get to believe what you want. We laugh because it's funny, but the thing is, we have been doing this for a while now. But Jesus wants to let us know that, look, our beliefs are a big deal. And we could put it this way. Our beliefs are personal, but they are not private. Our beliefs affect our behavior. They affect others. So we have to make sure that what we believe is true. We have to make sure that what we believe is true. Now, you might say, okay, look, I get it. Plenty of people believe things because they want to. I mean, some people are Christians, some people are atheists, some people are Muslim. Like, people just kind of choose. It doesn't matter. It's just kind of all a mixed bag. We just allow people, you believe what's good for you, I'll believe what's good for me, we'll all go home happy. The thing is, Christianity does not work this way. Christianity is the one religion that does not think this way. And I can prove it to you. There's a guy named Paul, and he was an opponent of Christianity. And he basically said, I want to kill the church. I want to kill this new movement. I don't believe that Jesus rose from the dead. And then what's incredible is that he meets him. And I think he just basically said, look, when you meet a dead guy that comes back from the life, you just go with what they say for the rest of your life, okay? You just say, hey, whatever you want. And so he has this incredible conversion with Jesus, and he changes his life, and he becomes a proponent for the church, and he plants churches. And one of those churches back in his day in the first century was in a city called Corinth, and he's noticing that they're talking about things about faith and how faith and reason are kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. And so he writes them. Here's what he says. He says, and if Christ has not been raised, our preaching is useless. People who do what I do, when you're in a small group, when you're telling someone about Jesus, when you're at a coffee shop sitting across from someone, if Jesus Christ is still dead, what you're doing is useless. And he says this, and your faith is useless too. Ouch. He says, more than that, we are found to be false witnesses, read liars. If Jesus Christ is still dead, I'm lying to you right now. We are false witnesses about God, for we have testified, meaning we have given compelling evidence that should stand up in a court of law that Jesus actually did come back from the dead. And if that's not true, we are giving false witnesses. We should not be testifying to that he raised Christ from the dead. But he did not raise him. In fact, if the dead are not raised, he's just making a simple point. If dead people stay dead, Jesus didn't come back from the dead. He's still very much dead. And he says this, for if the dead are not raised, then Christ has not been raised either. And if Christ has not been raised, your faith is worth nothing. It's futile. You are still in your sins. You are an enemy of God. if Christ has not been raised. I mean, he's not pulling any punches here. And then he says, and those who have fallen asleep, it's just kind of their way of saying those people who are dead, they're gone. There is no hope that you will see them again. When you die, you're finished. There's no hope for you either. He says this is the reality. If everything that we're talking about, everything that we believe is false, and here's how he ends this, if only for this life that we have hope in Christ, if we just go to church and sing songs to his holy name, and he's just a dead guy in the grave, we should be pitied among all people. Isn't that crazy? So what Paul is doing is he is squarely saying, our faith and the facts behind it have to coincide. Those two have to go together. Because the thing that we preach as Christians is that a dead guy came back to life, that he was crucified, that he was put in a tomb, somehow he got out, that God raised him up. 500 people saw him. It changed his life, Paul's life. It changed a ton of people's life. And this movement hasn't stopped since the first century. These are the facts that Paul is talking about. He says, if none of those are true, we're all wasting our time. Truth is a big, big deal. In fact, I could put it this way, and I've said it before, is that if Christianity were false, I'd leave it in an instant. I would leave it in an instant. So here's thing number 2 about what is truth. Truth is absolute, but it is not abstract. Paul is saying, look, it is not this concept that you can't get. It is knowledgeable. Jesus was a person in history. We know who crucified him. We know where he lived. We know how he came back to life. We know that people saw him. There are objective facts around this that you should put your faith in. There are reasons for you to believe, because belief is important. But the thing is, and we could say it this way as well, if it's not true for people everywhere, it's not true for people anywhere. This is not just it's true in one corner of the world in the Middle East or here in America. Jesus either rose from the dead for people everywhere, or it is not true for people anywhere. It is an all or nothing. And I think Paul says this, and this is so hard. Paul basically says, look, if your faith doesn't correspond to reality, meaning if you have not looked at the facts and have based your faith on that, then in essence, in reality, it's useless. This is a pastor, this is people at this church telling you is that we do not want you to believe because we tell you so. We do not want you to believe because we put all this time and effort into making it compelling. We want you to believe because the facts tell us that a dead guy came back. And when you come back from life, you follow what they say, or at least you should. That's the reason that we believe. Okay, so if this is such a big issue, then why do we have an issue with truth? Why do we have an issue? Because most of the time, if truth is so important, shouldn't we just orient our lives around it? The problem is that truth tells one person this is right, another person this is wrong. It confronts our lives. Is what I believe true? Do I believe it just because my parents said so? Have I investigated the facts behind this? Truth looks at us and it says, look, do you have a good reason for thinking, for believing, for feeling the way that you do? And truth sometimes unmasks us. It tells us that our motives aren't always the best. It tells us that we haven't actually done the research, and it's discomfort. It's uncomfortable. That's the reason that truth is so hard. I mean, we live in an age now that disagreeing with someone is the same as attacking them as a person. We have almost lost our ability to civilly disagree. And honestly, the truth is worth having a discussion, a debate, civilly over. It's that important. Jesus came to die for that, to show us the truth. And I get it. So many people are like, well, what makes Christianity true? There are lots of religions out there. What makes you have the truth over other people? I think it's a valid question. I think we should at least look into it. But here's why I think Christianity has a leg up on every other religion in the world, is because we've said this before, that if you're looking to find God, many people just say God's at the top of a mountain and there are many ways to get up to him. Christianity is the only religion that God comes down off the mountain to you. That's what makes it different. But here's what John, a follower of Jesus, the guy who was in Jesus' innermost circle, here's how he describes the uniqueness of Jesus. He says this, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was just another way to describe Jesus. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He, switching to personal pronoun, he was with God in the beginning, and through him all things were made. Through God the Son, through Jesus Christ, all things were made. Just in case you think he's just a great moral teacher or just a hippie guy that you would love to hang out with. Jesus was there before the foundation of time, space, and matter making it. That's what makes him unique. Without him, John says, nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. In Jesus Christ was life, the beginning of it, and it will be end of all life is found in him. This was new. This was a huge deal. And then the Word became flesh, and he made his dwelling among us. God came to earth to us instead of making us come to him. And we have seen his glory, John says. We walked with him. We talked with him. The glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. We need both of those. We need both grace and truth. You have to tell people the truth in love. I have a friend who has kind of a weird relationship. He says some funny things to his wife, and she said, "Hey, does this dress make me look fat?" Trick question, right? And he says, "No, it's the fat that makes you look fat." Jeez, like, why would you say that? Right? A great example. You need the truth in love. I mean, if you want to see Jesus earlier, answer the question that way. That's a great way to do that. But seriously, we need both. If Christians, we beat people over the head with truth in a horrible way, guess what? It doesn't matter if you have the best message in the world. If you're a jerk about it, no one wants to hear it. So we have got to do better, and hopefully this is a challenge to you, it's a challenge to me, is that when we talk with people about the truth, we have to do it in a loving way. I want the best for you. I want you to live your life in a way that's meaningful. Jesus Christ is for you. He died for you. He has a purpose for your life. I am for you, and I love you. We need both of those things. John later on says this about Jesus. He says, "I am the way and the truth and the life." This is quoting Jesus. "No one comes to the Father except through me." I mean, this is a big deal. Jesus is saying, I'm not the best way. I'm not a way. I am the way. Definite article, the word the. And this is what causes people sometimes to look away from Christianity, because most people can talk about God, but when it comes to Jesus, he's so personal because he's a historical figure, is that they go, man, if everything relies on that guy, I don't have to make a choice. God is no longer this fuzzy out there entity. He is a person within history that I can know. And that's a big deal. And then he says, I am the truth. He doesn't just tell the truth. He is the truth. This is an entirely new concept for most people. Most people have either told a lie or told the truth or some version of it, but to have a person be the truth, this is crazy. And the reason this is so important, and this is number 3, the truth should be taken personally because truth is a person. Truth isn't just this fuzzy, abstract concept. It's not something just that we desire to tell. Truth is a person, and this is, I think, both powerful and personal. It's powerful because there is a person and a reason behind the creation of all life. It is not an accident. Jesus Christ is so powerful that he created you and everything in it. He has the power to renew you as well. He has the power to transform your life here and now. He has the power to defeat death itself. That's part of the reason that he is worth following. This is so powerful. And the second reason is personal. Because so many people, when they get into a religion, and maybe if you're kind of dipping your toes in Christianity, maybe you think it's just about a bunch of rules. There's a good rules, do these, bad rules, don't do these. But when truth is a person, only a person can have grace. A set of rules is either pass or fail. You're either a liar or a truth teller. You're either an adulterer or you're not. And Jesus says, even if you are an adulterer, even if you are a liar, even if you are a people who has cheated someone, through me, you can have grace. Because only through him, only through a person, only when truth is a person can you receive not only truth, but grace. And we need both. And here's the reason, and this is my personal opinion. Here's the reason that I was convinced that Christianity was true. I studied a bunch of different religions. It's part of my story. Highly recommend it if you can do it, but maybe I can save you some time. Is that the uniqueness of Jesus is that any mere man can tell the truth, but no mere man can be the truth. Anyone can say it, but no one can be it. Only God can be truth. And when Jesus says he is the truth, guess what he's saying? I am God in a bod. That's what he's saying. It rhymes, so I figured I'd go with it. I am God in the flesh, Jesus says. This is what convinced me. God is personal, powerful, knowable, the personification of truth itself, and grace. That is too good of a package to say no to. So what do you do with all this today? These are some of them are abstract concepts, some of them are big. What do you do with all of this? Maybe you're leaning in, you go, okay, I understand the importance of truth. But here's the thing. Taking the truth personally also means taking Jesus seriously. And if he says that truth is a big deal, then we have to ask ourselves questions about, do we love the truth? And what we're implying is, do we love him enough to seek the truth? Do we want to see fuzzy for the rest of our lives? Do we want to put on clear to clarity to see who God is? And when we do that, we not only have to look towards God, but we have to look towards our own life to say, do we love the truth enough to make some changes? Now, here are some questions that we're going to put on the screen. I'm going to be honest, I can't say yes to all of these just yet, so I'm working on these just like you are. But your next step is to learn how to tell if you love truth or not. And those are 5 things. Do I regularly listen to the opinions of others, even when I disagree? If I'm a Democrat, do I regularly listen to Republicans? If I'm a Republican, do I regularly listen to Democrats? Do I care that they are a person before I care about their viewpoint? Do I regularly listen to them, or am I just waiting on my turn to talk? You know if you love the truth if you're willing to engage with someone you disagree with. Number 2, do I welcome feedback in my life? One of the most dangerous questions you could ever ask someone is, what's it like to be on the other side of me? It is a difficult question. Do not ask your spouse that question on the way home. I'm sorry. I want to have a happy Sunday for you. Do I welcome feedback? Do I care to improve, or am I fine the way I am? Do I invite people who I trust and who I love, who love me, to tell me truths about my life that I don't want to hear? Third one is this. Do I exaggerate numbers or stories or statements to impress people? Do I tell people that I make more money than I do? Do I tell people that I drive a better car than I do? Do I tell people more people were there than there were to impress people I might not even like? Number 4, do I have a meaningful friendship with people who believe differently? If you are a Christian and all your friends are Christians, you're missing out. Because some of the smartest people I know are not Christians, and they challenge me in an amazing way. I love having conversations with them. You need friends that are not just like you, that believe differently, whether they're an atheist, a Christian, a Muslim, or somewhere in between. They will give you incredible insight in your life. And this 5th one, am I interested in being right or learning what's right? This one's hard because all of you are experts at least one thing. You spent your life studying something, working at something, being with someone, and you're an expert in that field. But are you willing to learn something new? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. So I'm going to pray for us. I got 2 more quick things to talk about, and then we'll be done. Father, thank you for this series. Thank you for helping us take a look at the importance of truth. Lord, it's something that it unmasks us at times. It's uncomfortable. It creates confusion because we haven't oriented our life around the truth. It can even create some disunity at times. So Lord, help us rally around you with our differing opinions, our different nationalities, our different viewpoints. Hopefully we have in common and want to be found in you. The truth is found in you. Thank you for giving us the truth. Help us orient our life around you. In Jesus' name, amen. Last thing real quick is if you are new or you have a prayer request or you'd like to get to know a little bit more about us and you have a next step, there's a connection card in your program. Please give that to an usher on the way out or turn it in the connection center. And lastly, we still have money left for camp. Our camps are going to fill up very quickly for kids and students. Go ahead and go to the connection center, register for that. We'd love to help them take their next step. Have a great day. You are already blessed. See you next week.